Hey, what is up? What is going on? Happy Friday, Joe 690 ADV. Thank you for stopping in. Hopefully you're having a great day. We've had some crazy weather over the past week and a half, but I tell you what, today, gorgeous, absolutely nice sunny skies, and hopefully it's nice in your neck of the woods, and you are going to be able to get out and do some riding as I am this weekend. Anyway, hey, you know what? Harley Davidson, it's been a pretty hot topic lately, and people have been talking about it. People have been going out and doing the Harley Davidson ride days and stuff like that, and I think that's really awesome and really cool. But I tell you what, there are some pros, and I think there are some cons to that motorcycle if you're thinking about getting one, and there could be some potential problems for new riders. Stick around. Hey, what's up? Joe 690 ADV. Thanks for stopping in, giving me a little bit of your time here on this Friday. Weather's getting nice, so hopefully you're going to be able to get out and do a little bit of riding because the weather is, at least it's not stormy and crazy. At least it's not today, and I think we're going to have some okay weather through the weekend, and hopefully you're going to get it on your side of your world where you live, and you can get out and get a little ride time in. Anyway, hey, first things first, hit that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it. It helps us out with YouTube. Also, give us a thumbs up as well. YouTube likes that as well, and it helps our channel out tremendously. And if you're looking for any gear or anything like that, or if you need to do some shopping, just hit our store right up there. It's also down in the description, and it helps me out personally for doing all these videos and buying some stuff and camera gear and all that type of stuff. It's very little, but it does help. Anyway, Harley Davidson, it's really been a pretty hot topic lately. There's been a lot of videos that come out because Harley's been basically pushing because they are starting to produce that new Pan America. Now, people are going out and doing the ride days on those new Harley Pan Americas, and a lot of good information's coming back from that. Now, the question is I had a lot of people asking me, did you go out and ride the Harley? No, I did not. I don't need to ride a motorcycle so much. I can get enough information from the internet and also from buddies that actually went out and rode it to pretty much come up with my decision. A lot of your larger adventure bikes, they're larger adventure bikes. They do certain things a certain way, and it's I don't have to ride that in order to do it. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, 690, you haven't ridden that bike, so how could you say that there's a pro or there's a con? Well, I've owned many adventure motorcycles over the years, and I can tell you what, they really do. They they handle a certain way, and it's not, some are a little better than others, but also the biggest kicker is a lot of things that a lot of people overlook, and this Pan America is definitely no different. Now, if you want to tell me I'm wrong, put it down below, put it in the comments. I'm totally okay with it. But I do feel there are some pros, and I do feel that there are some cons to this motorcycle, especially if you're thinking about buying one, or if you're a new rider, and maybe you're like, hey, you know what? I like that bike. Well, you might want to think about these. I can't hit them all because if I do, then you're not going to stick around to listen to all of it, and you're going to be mad at me for basically saying you drug this video out way too long. So let's start with the first of the pros, and then stick around towards the latter part of the video, and then I'll tell you about all the cons, and I'll give you my final decision on why, yay or nay, for the new Harley Davidson Pan America. Pro number one, it really is, honestly, it's a short rider's dream bike, pretty much, because it's got that new self-dropping frame, or the adaptive ride height, that allows that bike, when it comes and slows down, it allows it to drop the height to get the bike a little bit low, and then it raises itself back up. Now, it's a selection, it's an add-on, it's not something that comes standard on that bike, but you can get it. But it is very cool for short riders, because that way, if a lot of people like to have their feet completely flat on the ground. I don't care so much about having my feet flat on the ground. I don't mind, having just the ball of my foot on the ground, but some people, that's a really big deal, and I think that's a really good pro to that motorcycle. But make no mistake, it's gonna cost you. Now, The new motor, I think that is a pro as well. So pro number 2, I think that new Max 1250 motor, I think is really, really cool. And at 150 horsepower, that thing is going to be super, super fun. My buddy, East Texas ADV, Jeff, he took it out and rode it, did a great video on it. He went out and did his ride. We talk all the time, and I got pretty much his 2 cents on what he thought about the bike. And this is really some of the information that I got to come up with my decision. But he said the motor pulls fantastic. He said it's got nice draw. I mean, it just literally, it does what you ask it to do, which is nice. The mid ranges are fantastic on it, but he said overall, he said it's got plenty of power. The mids, the highs, all that stuff. But it was a new bike, so they're not going to let him get too crazy on it. But he said it was really, that new motor is really pretty fantastic. Pro number 3, fuel range, 5.6 gallons. That's really pretty darn good. 5.6 gallons. My thing is the bigger fuel tanks, like your Adventure Series for your BMWs, when they get up around 9 gallons, that's just too much fuel, man. I mean, it's not like you're going to run that tank out. But at 5.6 gallons for that Harley Pan America, I think it's really, really pretty awesome. Now, the MPGs on it is really going to kind of dictate how that bike is going to be. But here's the deal. My buddy, MacGyver, who I went on the Big Bend trip, you've probably seen the video. If you haven't, check it out. It's in our playlist. He had a Super Tenere, the 1100 or 1200. I can't remember what the CC range was on the bike, but that thing got awful fuel mileage. On my BMW 800 GSA, I tell you what, that thing sipped fuel. He was always looking for gas, and we still had quarter of a tank in our bikes while we were on our trips. And we were getting 75 plus miles more to a tank than that bike. So these bigger motors and stuff like that, the question is, what is really the fuel range going to be on that bike? But if they can get the MPGs right, in which I'll talk about it here in just a few, and we'll see. Time is really going to tell with that right there. Now, pro number 4, windscreen. I can't stress it enough. Windscreens are fantastic. Windscreens are really a big deal if you're adventure traveling, because windscreens get the air up and over your head, gets the buffeting off. Man, if you've ridden all day, your neck will be so freaking sore at the end of the day, and it's got a 4-position windscreen. They nailed it. That's really, really awesome, because that is going to help you out, get that air up, over, and away from you, and it's going to make your travels so much better. Number 5, 6.8 TFT. That's like an iPad mini, man. It's on there. It's really nice. It's nice and big. It's super bright. You're going to be able to see that pretty much in any condition, light, dark, night, whatever. And with it being a TFT, it's really going to be super, super nice on that right there. Now, there's a whole lot more. And I know you're saying, hey, 690. There's way more pros than that to that bike. I can't say them all. But what I am saying is yes, there are more pros to that bike. So, for Harley Davidson, I think overall, they did a pretty good job on the whole. Now, and it's also, they're going to sell probably quite a few of these bikes if they can actually get them out and start selling them. Now, I know for right now, the cons, I don't know if they're really going to outweigh the pros. You tell me, put it down below. But the con number 1 to me, I'm going to start with the motor. It's an unproven motor. It is a brand new motor, and it looks great and fantastic on paper, but it's brand new to the market. It hasn't been around. It's not from another bike series. It's not anything. So is it going to be reliable? And I'm probably going to catch some flack from some riders. But here's the deal. Harley Davidson, in all reality, is not known for super reliable motorcycles. Now, they do have some that actually do very, very well. But that new 1250 Max engine, I don't know. I think time's really going to tell. But to me, it's kind of a con because it's such a new bike. We just don't know. So we're going to have to wait, see, and find out from other riders that actually ponied up that money and ride that bike to find out. Now, number 2, going back to the MPGs or the fuel mileage. Now, at basically 5.6 gallons, I'm going to say probably 40 to 45 miles to the gallon. That bike's going to have about a 250 mile range. That's not horrible. But for an adventure bike, it's not fantastic either. Now, they claim 46 miles to the gallon. I'm going to bet you once everything cycles through, they're not going to get 46 miles to the gallon. But we'll find out. But my thing is I truly think that bike, that motor, 40 to 45 miles to the gallon, it's just not good enough. It really needs to be at around 50 miles to the gallon. That puts you closer to 300 miles, and at 5.6 gallons, I think that would be a victory. Now, con number 3. $19,999. Now that's for the special edition. That's pretty much, that's the full Monty, okay? Now, and they have all the add-on features too. You're going to probably sit in somewhere around about $22,000 when it's all said and done, maybe even more depending on what type of aftermarket you put on there. It's getting up there. It's getting really expensive. And then I'm going to talk about the biggest, con in my opinion at number 5 here in just a second, that really takes everything out of the whole, basically the whole everything. But con number 4, the ground clearance. 7.5 inches of ground clearance. Anybody that has done adventure traveling and adventure riding, true adventure traveling and adventure riding, knows that 7.5 inches of clearance, not a whole lot. It's really not a whole lot. That bike is going to bottom out. Make no mistake about it. And it's not going to bottom out much. It's going to bottom out a lot. That's a concern for me. You better protect that bike, especially up underneath it. And the reason being is because if you don't get a good skid plate, you could really damage that bike and you could find yourself stranded. And especially with an engine that we don't know is 100% reliable, who knows? But I'm telling you, the 7.5, I'm just not feeling it. And I know what everybody's thinking. They're like going, well, you know what? You haven't ridden that bike, you haven't any things. But people are watching the videos and they're getting all excited. And they're seeing that bike, they're seeing it, fishtailing, and they're seeing it wheeling and jumping and all that stuff. Keep in mind, that's a professional rider. You more than likely are not a professional rider. So I don't want to burst your bubble or anything like that. But what I am trying to tell you is that basically that bike can do a lot of things. And with the right rider, it can do pretty well. But make no mistake, it's not a KTM 690. It's not any other bike that's lighter than that. And that's really the biggest con, the weight of the bike. At over 550 pounds, that's with no gear, that's no nothing, and that's a rough estimate on a wet weight. I hate to break the news to you. I've owned some bikes in the 500 range. You lay one down, make no mistake, it is heavy. And at 550 pounds with nothing on it, get ready. Because once you deck that thing out, skid plate, crash guards, all that stuff. This is a $20,000 bike, man. It's going to hurt bad whenever you lay that bike down and scratch it. You're going to feel like somebody kicked you. All the things you got to do, panniers, boxes, extra fuel, all these things that these guys like to do, that bike's going to be at 650 pounds. And I can tell you right now, if you have not basically lifted up a 600 plus pound bike, I got news for you. Get ready. You better do a lot of practice because that bike is going to be very, very heavy. And that's the biggest con that people miss and they do not take into accountability. It's how heavy that bike is. They see all the off-road stuff and they want to go out and they want to do the long way around, long way up, all that stuff like Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor. They had a crew, make no mistake. And those bikes are so heavy. So make sure that you keep that in mind. The weight is the biggest factor. So if you're a new rider or something like that, please take that into accountability. That is a huge con for these big adventure bikes, especially the Harley Davidson Pan America is no exception to it. Be prepared, lots of practice, picking up that bike because you will dump it. You are going to lay it down, and when you are in the mountains and you're at elevation, that bike is going to feel like 1,000 pounds. That's why I buy a KTM 690 Adventure or 690R for that reason. So here's the deal. I'm not trying to sway one way or another. I think the bike is fantastic. I think it's awesome. You can put it down below what you think about that bike. I think they're going to sell a bunch of them if they can actually get them off the production line. But ADV bikes are very capable, but they are not enduros and they are not true dual sports. They're heavy, they're big, and guys like to buy them and they like to test the limits. But please keep in mind, that bike is going to be heavy, 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 and expensive. So anyway, hey, pros, cons, the Harley Davidson Pan America It's finally coming. And at $20,000 plus, I don't know. What do you think? You tell me. Put it down below. Hey, I'm Joe, 690 ADV. Hey, you know what? Hit that subscribe. Please give us a thumbs up. And don't forget our store up there. We thank you so very much. You have a fantastic weekend. Be safe. Get out and ride, man. Go find your adventure. I don't care if it's to the Starbucks, man. If you're on your bike and you're happy, you win. 690 out.